Hi, my name's Travis, and I like to teach power yoga. My business is called Sthira Yoga, but this class is far from that. It's a gentle relaxation, um, taking our time to be really present to our body and our breath. So, if you've got some props, grab them now: bolsters, blankets, blocks, and when you're ready, begin to find your way into extended child's pose. So place the bolster out in front of you, and possibly also place the block out in front of you so your head's nice and elevated. Knees are opened out wide, hips back towards your heels, big toes touch. And start to drape yourself down over your bolster, and that's why I've got the block there. I'm going to place my forehead on the block, bringing the earth to me. And start to settle into your breath. If it feels appropriate, close down your eyes. Allow yourself a few moments to enjoy the contentment of arriving on your mat. And this pose is very similar to the concept, or it evokes, I should say, the concept of bowing down, surrendering. Surrendering to your practice and letting go of your day, your week, your month, whatever is going on. And being present to this moment right now. And we're going to stay for about another minute and a half. And perhaps you can visualize the movement of the breath in through the nose and let it roll across the back of the throat all the way down into the lungs, filling all the way from the bottom of the lungs up and up until you feel the breath all the way to the top, and then reverse that, empty out and let go as you ground into that breath. Stay for another few moments. And start to peel yourself up and off your bolster. Slide it out in front of you and rotate it 90 degrees so it runs parallel with the short edge at the top of your mat. And just slide it all the way up there. We'll come to it in a moment. Take the knees into touch and then shift onto your shins and tuck the toes behind you for a toe stand. So you might like to take your block and place it underneath your buttocks so you sit back on a block. The way I like to do toe stand is through a couple of rotations. So rather than setting it straight up as the full intensity, moving into it. So the block is quite elevated, I'm quite high, supported there, and the toes are tucked. We'll take a time to go down and join the pinky toe into the party. Quite regularly doesn't want to join this fun excitement that is this pose. It's nice to think of this elevation. You're lifting away rather than just dumping back. You want to make sure you feel the lift. And stay here for another 10 cycles of breath. And then shift forward, take your block out from underneath you, untuck the toes and start to pedal them out, paddle them out. We'll take the counter pose now, which is our ankle stretch. So you sit back on the heels and then start to walk the hands behind you and just lean back ever so slightly, elevating the shins off the mat. You could place your block underneath the knees as you lean back for a little bit of support. And then we'll shift forward. If you took the block underneath your knees, just remove it. Come forward, and once more we're going to take a toe stand. And again, look for that opportunity to support yourself. I'm going to stay a little high again because the ground is uneven here and I just want to be more supported. But I'm going to place my hands on the heels of my feet so that I apply a bit of pressure, allowing and facilitating that stretch across the soles of the feet. notice if you've sort of gathered. I was just became aware of my shoulders gathering towards my ears, letting myself just relax a little and know that good times come and go, but so do the more difficult times. And this too shall pass. And then start to come forward, shifting yourself onto the shins, and then paddle the shins out and the tops of the feet. And then we'll take our toe stand. So I'm going to bring my block with me, place it underneath my knees. Might bring it further down the shins now towards the ankles. And lean back a little further. And then coming off of our prop, I'm going to place it off to one side. It's out of reach now for me there, but I'll get it if I need it. Coming into our tabletop position and taking some rounds of cow and cat. Notice here, just allowing yourself to naturally and intrinsically move along your spine in a way that feels really rewarding. And it doesn't even have to be that stereotypical cow-cat shape. In fact, you know, I like to cue poses called sexy cat. You know, start to move here in a way that feels really enjoyable. Getting out of the thinking body and into the moving body. And so now we'll recruit our bolster. We'll slide it a little closer towards us. We're looking for it to be far enough away so that as we find puppy pose, we come onto our elbows. And through the elbows, we allow the chest to lower between the shoulders and the head lowers down towards the earth. So see if you can find that there with your prop. If you can't do that, puppy pose doesn't have to have a bolster. You can simply have your forearms on the earth. But some of the alignments that I look for here is knowing that the hips are roughly over the knees. I enjoy tucking my toes behind me so that I get a little bit of leverage off those tucked toes to press the heart forward and allow the hammock to occur underneath my armpit or along my armpit. A prayer position behind the back of the head can also feel super wonderful.
the sounds of the birds where I live here in the Southern Highlands. It's very much the land of the birds. Sulphur-crested cockatoo is the one that just flew over with that loud shrieking call. An abundance of wildlife. Corellas, lorikeets, rosellas, farm animals, wallabies, kangaroos, wombats, they all live here, echidnas. A little over halfway. It's funny how when you do something outside, you don't necessarily notice the noise and the cacophony of sound until you do something like this sort of a stilling practice where you're very much aware of those distractions. Notice them and let them be like the clouds in the sky, roll on by. Let's start to lift ourselves up. And now what we'll look for, actually I'm going to shift back and grab my block. Slide the bolster even further down towards us. And we're setting up for a Sphinx pose where the bolster will be placed around that lowest rib section. The block will be out in front of us for our forehead. I'm going to just shift up the mat a little. Our feet can be wide or they can be close together, and I'm going to lower my forehead down on the block. Hands can be out in front of you, palms down, or maybe if you've got a block out in front of you, you might interlace the fingers. as we're a little over halfway, if you feel like changing the height of the block, feel free to do so. Beginning now to awaken your body, lifting your chest, and take our prone shoulder stretch. So place your block out in front of you, shift some weight forward and take the right arm underneath the left arm. You can extend the left arm out in front of you, and in fact you're going to need your block again to lower your forehead down. So we're just taking a one arm variation here. Left arm forward, right arm swept through and in and under to the left. If the double arm variation really serves you and you know that that's something you enjoy, which would obviously be the left arm sweeping through to the right, and tucking the toes and just shifting some weight forward, so more of the upper body weight rests on the arms and the opening across the back body feels more profound. So that's in the double arm variation. The single arm is there for you as well. Let's say about 10 more breaths. We won't hold this one that long. And starting to lift yourself up and take yourself through to the other side. So take your right arm out, sweep the left arm in first. So that means that you've done the opposite side now. So right arm's extended forward. Or if you want the double arm variation, take the right arm through to the left. Final few moments. And then starting to lift yourself up and press back to a Japanese style child's pose. So inner knees and inner ankles come to touch. Sit your hips back towards your heels and then sweep the arms back behind you, lowering the forehead down. And start to lift yourself up and sitting upright for a moment. I'm going to head through to sleeping swan now, and I'm going to use a lot of props. So I'm going to slide my bolster back down and away from me. I'm also going to grab my blanket and just place it to the left side of my mat. Block is still out in front of you. So place your hands on your bolster and then step the right foot forward over the block and toe heel the foot to the left. So we're coming to the pinky toe edge of the right foot. I'm going to look behind me and I'm just going to lift that back knee and I'm going to place the padded blanket just there. And consider your length of legs and the architecture of your body and just look for a shape here that allows you to lower the right thigh down onto the right thigh and hip area down onto your bolster and start to lower down onto your forearms and then lower down the forehead onto your block. Our target area is in the buttocks and the gluteals and the tissues around the hip, not the knee. So I'm not looking for discomfort or pain in the knee. Keeping our joint nice and healthy there. We're stretching into the tissues around the buttock area and upper thigh. I mean, there's an element of discomfort here for sure. This is not a pose that particularly is natural or consistently something that we do in our everyday lives. So it definitely does target tissues that get a little taut and a little stiff. It's often believed that there's ancestral kind of DNA and history in the hips, and it's a storage area for emotions that we're not quite ready to process. And often when that happens, we find ourselves confronted by this kind of a pose that asks us to be still with often the stuff that comes up. I mean, that's a lot to process, so just give yourself a few moments. And stay for 5 more breaths. start to lift yourself up, and there really is no elegant way to do this. So just sort of shift back a little and then come back onto your all fours and do the same thing again. I'm going to take that, slide my towel blanket over to the right, so my right knee's underneath it. Step the left foot forward and then toe heel it over to the right. Shift forward into the knee as we find that more length along the left hip and thigh. Encouragement to find some sort of a shape that is sensational, that you're curious with, and then make your way into this side. This side for me is a lot stiffer, a lot more sensation. How do you sort of keep the stillness when there's so much sensation, so much distraction? The breath is a wonderful tool. And sometimes just that simple mechanism of counting backwards in a box formation that includes the volume of the breath, the respiration of the breath. Could even be some deep self-inquiry as to the cause of the imbalance. And then we've got our 5 more breaths. And this time, as you let that final exhale leave the body, start to lift yourself up. But this time, we're going to grab our block and bring it with us. We're just actually going to shift back onto that left hip and slide off the bolster, just sort of sitting back down. And then we're going to bring the right foot up and over forward of the bolster. Take the blanket out and maybe place it down near the feet. The bolster is now conveniently behind our knees, and the block is going to be a little bit of an added pillow behind the back of the head. It is midwinter here in Australia, and it is an incredibly unseasonably warm day, so it will require a little bit of warmth for me. So the fire's died down. I'm going to pop my feet into the blanket, because we've arrived now in our Shavasana. And as we start to roll down the back, reach for the block and find what's appropriate for you. Some of you might like to place it between the shoulder blades, elevating the chest and maybe hinging the head back. Others might find more restorative moments with the block behind the back of the head. I don't mind where you place your hands. Could be out wide, could be left hand heart, right hand tummy. And let the sounds around you just come and go like a
A lovely big empty hall full of noise that's just exiting left, right. And let your lips separate, the teeth separate, and the tongue rests gently on the roof of your mouth. The back of the head rests down on the mat, and then the skull rests down, and the brain rests down inside the skull. Contents of our rib cage, the primary location of vibration and rhythm in our body, the heart and the lungs, feel tucked up and gentle and soft inside the cavity of the ribs. The whole body is relaxed. to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, roll the wrists and roll the ankles. I should have said before this, if you wish to stay in Shavasana, by all means be my guest, but if you're ready to move on with your day, sweep the arms overhead, long in the body, and then slowly make your way up into a comfortable seat, hands at heart. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this change of scenery. Thumbs to your third eye. Aloka samasta sukhinu bhavantu. Greet this wonderful version of yourself in the remainder of your day with a Hindi word. Namaste. Bye for now.